cheeky, you may not realise, but when you are selling using a deposit, how do you do it? We're going to teach you in a couple of seconds.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minute, episode 385. Using other people's money to buy a property. How can you do it? When is it available? What does it mean? Is it possible? Is it legal? What's the deal? Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mr. Burgos.
I think there's the topic, and this is a great topic that Tony has asked us to speak about, releasable deposits. When does it happen? And how you can do it. I think, and we're talking about not the deposit for the loan, the stake that an agent holds. So when you're exchanging a contract of sale, the buyer, irrespective of the loan, whatever's worked out. So loan, deposit, loan, everything's separate. So the stake that is held by the real estate office in trust, generally it's a 10% stake, sometimes 5%, is paid to the agent when it exchange. And typically it sits in the agent's trust account until settlement, when the property settles and the lawyers send an order of the agent, and then that deposit goes to the vendor. A lot of people don't understand. It's almost like once it unconditionally exchanges, there's almost no reason, regardless if the sale settles, that it won't be going to the vendor. A lot of people don't sort of...
Well, I think, Michael, automatically, like if you'd sort of assume that if someone paid a deposit of 10% when they bought your property, you'd assume you'd get it in your hot little hand. And what you're saying is not at all the case. It sits in trust, in the agent's trust account on behalf of the purchaser. They're holding it in trust, and on behalf of the buyer. Like, you'd never think that, hey?
Yeah, it doesn't benefit anybody there. And so I think the interest is like 0.1, so there may be a few $100s at the end. But
yeah, it
can be used if both parties agree by the vendor. And Mark, how can that be used? When would a vendor need it? Because you don't need it all the time.
You know, this is the scenario, guys. You've got your bank's approved you to buy another property, and they've said you got to sell your property, and you're like, cool. Say you're buying something for $1 million, and you need to sell your unit for $500,000. Once you sell your unit for $500,000, you've actually done the hard work. Yeah, great. You've got your finance approved to buy the next place. Great. And what actually happens is you find the next place, and the agent puts their hand out and says 10% deposit, which is $100K. Now, if you don't have liquid cash, $100K, and not many people do, what are your options?
And that's when or the property we're going to buy for goes a little bit more for sale, especially in this market. I think people are in an upward market, we're going to have that scenario where you thought it was 1.5, it goes for 1.6, and you're a little bit of a shortfall. You'll be able to finance it, but you need that to exchange. So what a vendor can do, and it's best to have this done before you exchange, not after the fact. So thinking a few moves ahead. And that's why it's very important to have an agent that understands your scenario and they're thinking 2 moves ahead. So what you would do is when you exchange contracts, you would say to the buyer of your property, in the event the owner needs the deposit, we ask for it to be released to secure another property. You almost make it a condition of accepting their offer. Like, let's say you wanted 1.8, they offered 1.79. You're like, okay, I'll accept the 10 grand less on the provision that the deposit's released to me in the event I need to secure another property. And in my experience, 50% of lawyers, 60% of lawyers will make it happen. Yep, they understand it. There's probably about 20% that just see red and they're like, no, and they'll really put up a fight with it because they're just so cautious. But when you think about it, even if the sale doesn't go ahead, that money's going to the vendor anyway. It's an unconditional sale.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's it.
why is your lawyer going to pretend? Like, I'm sure they have their reasons that we're not seeing, but like, if it helps the transaction get ahead, it'll go ahead. So, but now if you don't have that agreed when you sell, it's very hard 4 weeks later for the agent to go to the buyer and say, hey, you know the deposit you paid, can the owner use it though? No, like it's just hard to get that approved. Well, on the exchange, you may be 80% likely to get that approved, 90%. After the fact, 20%. And that can be the difference of you getting that dream property.
The art of this hack or the art of this deal is in the moment when negotiating the terms, conditions, and price, that it is top of mind, brought up, discussed, polished with the purchaser. Because if it happens after exchange, you trying to get a seller trying to get a purchaser who's bought their place to then agree to release that money is very unlikely. Now, we can't forget they're going to blow this. If a purchaser pulls out, they're going to blow up this 10% anyway. They're losing it to the seller anyway. So it's sort of not that bad for the seller to use this deposit, as a purchase for another property. Now, normally there's terms on it as well. So the terms people normally put on, so often a purchaser will say, yes, I agree for this to be released, but
it's got to be transferred to the other agent's trust account, only in the event of buying a property. So there can be some little hairs, but a lot of time you can almost get it without terms. So it just depends on the buyer and their solicitor. So it can be pretty reasonable. Sometimes you got to produce the contract of sale of what you're buying, show that they verify it, and it's all hunky-dory sort of stuff like that.
Well, the problem a buyer's solicitor has is they release that deposit and they say, look, you can only use it to purchase. It can only go to another agent's trust account. And the problem then begins that on that sale, that gets released, that stake, to another agent's trust account. And then on that sale, and it actually, like a chain, it actually, the deposit almost disappears. So sometimes they put restrictions on that release of a deposit to say it can be used once and may not be released any further after the deposit gets put down. Or like you suggested, Michael, it may be just an unconditional release.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure a few agents watching ears prick up going, but what about my fee? I get paid from that deposit. Mark, what do we recommend here? We've had the good, the bad, the ugly in this. So we're quite experienced. What do you do here?
Oh, I can't talk about it. It hurts too much, but I'll talk about it. So what's happening in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years in the industry is that it's getting prescribed that the deposit, say it's a $50,000 property that gets sold, and say there's a $500,000 property, $50,000 is the stake that's going to get released. A lot of agents now have it in their agreement that their fee gets preserved. It actually stays, that agent doesn't get paid, but the fee gets preserved and stays in the trust account, and the balance gets released. Now we do this actively. It's in all of our agreements with our owners. So when we sign up owners, we discuss that we're the stakeholder for both parties. We discuss in the event of that stake being released that our selling fee remain in that stake. The problem is agents potentially do all the work and never get paid. It depends on the integrity of the seller.
Yeah, 100%. So, and I remember I've done a lot of these, and in my experience, you've just, same as speaking with the buyer, you got to be upfront with the owner. You say, yeah, we can negotiate the deposit released. FYI, my fee is not released to you. It's held in trust, or it's released to me, depending on where you're at. It can be done either or. Because if you read a sales agreement, we are entitled to our fee once we've unconditionally exchanged the contract. But obviously, it's done in settlement. So you go to the owner.
This is a photo of one of your sellers below here, isn't it?
So what I see, because then sometimes, I'll get.
What's his name? Are you getting that?
I forget.
Adam.
Gary Adams. Yeah.
Adams.
Someone,
you wiped it out of your name.
Craig Adams. Screw us for $300.
Craig Adams. $300,000 fee owed to the agency, owed to Michael Bergio, and that's a photo of him below there that you can see on what we did. And what happened? Give us the example.
Yeah, so
sorry to sidetrack you. I just thought of it.
So this was the first time I'd ever come across deposit released. I thought I'd been speaking to this guy for years. First time doing a deal with him. He was in a bit of a pinch to sell a site. We got a lot of agents on it. We got a price. So it was a good hustle. Got it done at like just under 17 mil, 16.9.
How much did he buy it for? 13?
Yeah, 13, 12.
So he made, in a year and a half, from your terrific work, he made $3 million.
Yeah. And on the provision of the sale, the deposit was to be released. And I was thinking, well, we weren't sort of happy with it, but there were other agents with similar, we wanted the deal done. So we got it released, and the full deposit was released to him. We didn't I think because we didn't even think things could go wrong. We sent it to the lawyer saying, this is our stake. We're releasing a deposit, so we get put on the settlement sheet. So when all the banks go in, we just get paid on adjustments.
We thought the lawyer would protect us as well.
Yeah, the lawyer would protect us. He knew it was entitled. It was a reputable city lawyer. Obviously, we weren't comfortable because we like to hold the money, but we get the deal done. Then on the day of settlement, obviously the lawyer did want to protect us, did want to pay it out. The Craig Adams fired his lawyer on settlement day because he was going to release us. No, you have to pay the agent. It's a debt owed. Fired that lawyer, hired this 2-bit lawyer on the day of settlement who basically agreed not to pay us, ignore the settlements, and then basically it's too expensive to chase. Put it this way, guys, if it was too expensive for us to chase a $300,000 fee or $340,000 fee, there's no chance for you guys because that's quite a rare sale. So we're generally talking about $1 million sales, blah, blah, blah. So you have to protect it like it's your child. Once you release a full deposit, unless you know this client, you manage properties for them and you've just got, where they live sort of thing, don't do it because the legal side will not protect you. They basically told it was $5,000 to do and invest it, to sort of get the ball rolling. And then it was $30,000 to actually get some sort of legal recourse to know if there's any recourse. And then it could be another $40,000. You're going to spend $100,000. And if they've closed down that business account, the money's gone. So there is no chance. There is no legal recourse for us. There is, if it's millions of dollars, you would spend $100,000 for $1 million, but you're not going to spend $100,000 to get a $20,000 fee. So, protect it. It sucks, but you've just got to work with it. But you have that conversation with the owner up front. We'll release the deposit, but not our fee. Have it written in your agreement. Now, where agents can go wrong is they release the deposit minus a fee. They've never spoken to the owner. The owner's thinking they're getting $100,000. They get $70,000. They go, where's the rest of my money? And you're like, yeah, I've kept my fee. What? No, I was expecting $100,000. That's where it gets really sour. They feel like you've taken from them, but you tell them from day one before it's it, minus my fee. And then if they go, what happens if the sale doesn't go ahead? My fee's paid anyway because we've exchanged. It's irrelevant. You get the balance. My fee's my fee. There's non-negotiable. That sort of thinks it over. So that sort of helps. Anything else? Yeah. Greeting.
And when you explain, look, I think the art of the deal is actually explaining it to the relevant stakeholders, and I think that we get paid by the sellers. I think having that early and open communication of this process can help them, and by not hijacking them with information at the end, everyone's on the same page. But I know released and agents can get not paid. Owners then get it. They're like, yep, that's fine. Just hold back that 10 grand. I'll take the 40 on the 500 sale, and let's move on.
Yeah. As Tony says, isn't the process of accessing the deposit from trust account vigorous under the law? No, it's actually pretty straightforward. It can be a 3-sentence or a 1-sentence in a sale contract, or an email from the vendor's lawyer saying release deposit. It's actually pretty simple. It's very different to like rentals trust. Rentals trust is still the same stuff, but it's not. It is, but it isn't. It's not like it's not that.
Look,
it's just
having said what you've just said, the Law Society recommends the deposit does not get released.
Yes.
Having said all that we've said today, if the Law Society has like recommendations to their lawyers, and to law in general, and in property law, they recommend the deposit doesn't get touched and it stays intact for stakeholders. But by mutual agreement,
anything's possible.
Yeah.
Michelle, I'll just read Michelle's. Similar deposit wasn't covering our fee. Conjunction agreement with Sydney agent got vendor 100K more. Vendor turned around and said, I think you have been paid enough. Then said they would donate half. Donate. So the comment went up. Vendor turned around and said, I think you have been paid enough. Then they said they would donate half the money owed to assist. We agreed, wanted to advertise that donation, never heard another thing. It was only a few thousand, but still leaves. But yeah, 100%. So similar deposit wasn't covering. Yeah. It can get very dicey. And as much as like you just don't know people. We deal with them. We think the best. You may have only met them a couple times. Oh, cancer. Okay. So they said they were going to pay you less of a fee, but donate the rest. And then you heard nothing about the confirmation of donating. Yeah. Dodgy. We like to always you just don't know.
And you don't want to integrity test your clients, when deposits are being released. So it's just better either A, don't release it, or 2, if you're crafty enough to get it released as a seller, make sure that in agency agreements that it's explained up front to clients that sure deposits can be released, but the stake for paying the agency must get paid, or the fee just get paid, or up front or later. But that's it, guys.
Yeah, and co-agency is very similar, but I would have more trust in another company paying us than a private person, because that company you've got a bit more recourse. So co-agency, very similar, but you're probably a bit better off dealing with another agency. But sometimes the one-man bands can be just as bad as some bad people. But yeah, that's a wrap.
See you later, alligator.
Oh, where is it? Sorry, music. There we go.